What's up, everybody? Welcome into another week, another Auburn Blitz podcast coming your way here on this Monday. Glad that you join us wherever it is that you tune us in. If you watch us live or if you watch us later on, whenever that is, we appreciate it. We want to thank Sense of Green for air that's cool and clean. Call on Sense of Green being our partner here, along with Bunkers in Auburn, Alabama, Lee Apparel, Sign Source, adding some more here shortly. We'll be hitting those through the show now instead of just at the end. Now that we're in 2025, we got deals that we've got, in place with everybody and, looking for more and want you to be part of it if you're not already. We are on the cusp of 500 subscribers. And again, I'm a man of my word, Randy. You know that. I stay by what I say. We're going to give away some stuff when we get to 500. So hats and T-shirts and things like that, help us get to 500. I mean, it's up to you guys out there. Spread the word. Can't do it by ourselves, but we appreciate it. We got a lot to talk about. Basketball off to the start we wanted in SEC play. They'll turn right around and play tomorrow on the road at Texas. We'll talk about that. Auburn picking up some more portal additions. Again, I don't know that this ever stops. The portal window closes, but guys are out there in the portal and you keep adding and people can keep leaving. And I don't know. This thing never stops. And then Miss America, Abby Stockard wins Miss America Auburn student, former Tiger Paw. I don't know. I saw online she's the girlfriend of Walker Kessler. Maybe Walker Kessler's the boyfriend of Abby Stockard. However you want to look at it. But congratulations to her. She was featured on the cover of Lake Magazine here with one of her other sorority sisters and contestants there on Lake Magazine here in the local Lake Martin area this month. So congratulations all the way around. We'll have to start there. It's not very often that you get somebody that ends up being Miss America. Man, that is a needle in a haystack. I mean, that's a lot of things have to go right to get that.
Yeah, you got to have a lot of talent. You got to be able to present yourself well. It's not just being a beautiful person. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it than just that. And as a father of a daughter that's had to suffer through a few pageants already, there's only a few of them that I appreciate. I've actually let my daughter, who's here at work with me this morning, and my wife and everybody else that wants to hear that I have no problem going. But at a certain point, you got to pick the ones that aren't trash. Let's go to the ones where she's got to show off some talent, got to be competing with someone else, and I can see the true benefit of that. But to win something like this is an amazing feat. Brett, you've got a daughter too. I mean, couldn't imagine Miss Alabama's and things like that. I mean, I've watched those. I've witnessed those. I mean, those are as good as it gets when it comes to a daughter that enjoys that type of stuff. So congratulations, Auburn University. Congratulations
Absolutely.
to the Tiger Paws. I mean, we've had a lot of good friends of ours, and Barbara Yates has sent more humans through that Tiger Paw program than probably anybody that we know, for good reason, because she's probably the best teacher and coach.
And she's had almost every daughter work in the Tiger Paw program.
Yes, she has. And, my daughter's still with Barbara, and yours has been with Barbara for as long as you can possibly be with her. So, and I just bring that up because I know how integral she was in helping get that Tiger Paw program going up to the standard that it is currently today. So congratulations to everybody involved. I'm sure we know a lot of the family members being from Vestavia and having places on Lake Martin and being involved in the Auburn community. So if you're a family member, if you're someone that was very special to last night, congratulations to all of you.
Absolutely. So I had to start there. You don't get a chance to do that very often. So, and she'll be representing the country now. And that's a big deal. So we wanted to start there. Also a big deal. We'll start with basketball. Auburn knocking off Missouri 84-68. I'll just be honest. I didn't think it was Auburn's best effort. And that's a good thing. I mean, Auburn had a season high turnovers of 16. When you do that and still win easily against a team that only had 2 losses coming in and had beaten some pretty formidable opponents. You know, Luke used a phrase on Saturday with Alabama that I thought was appropriate with Auburn on a lot of these opponents, and I hope it doesn't end up biting them at some point in time. And it may do it because you're not going to go undefeated, but like a cat playing with their food before they eat it, toying with their food, you know, it's just a matter of time. Like, okay, when am I going to get tired of playing with this mouse and eat it? And I think that's what Auburn does sometimes. They get out to these, they extend these leads out to 20 points, and it happens so easily. It's not hard not to get complacent. And so you can tell Bruce is trying to get more guys in. And, you know, again, Tahad Pettiford had a good learning experience, I thought, in this game. And the announcers talked about it, Randy, and they said, you know, they're going to challenge young, really good players. Teams like Missouri, all these teams are going to challenge you. You can't go back and revert to, okay, I'm about to line up and take you one-on-one. If they're going to take you away, you got to do your job and dish the basketball. And then eventually the ball will come back through you. And you can just tell the impatience. And again, he's a young kid, and he's been phenomenal at this point, but SEC plays different. And so you're going to get treated differently. And the skill level of competition is going to go up, even though we played a horrendous non-conference schedule as far as competition-wise. We played a very grueling schedule. But this is night in and night out now with the SEC. And, again, I think it's a great opportunity to learn, and he can go back and be coached up. And I'm not bringing up there's nothing negative to talk about. I'm just saying that I don't think we played anywhere near our best game and won easily.
Well, you know, one of my dad's favorite sayings, and I've said it to you over and over throughout the years, that, you know, if you're a good enough team and you can win when you don't play at your best, then you've got a chance to be great. And, you know, Mo Man used to say when we would complain about officiating or complain about something that went on in the basketball game, well, if it's that close, Randy, you're not that good anyway. You're just as good as them. You had one call go one way or another, and that's what determined the basketball game. And I'm going somewhere with this. Auburn is good enough to not play at their best, to use different players out there that we may not see in key moments as the season moves on. We won't see Denver Jones off the court for a 5 to 6 minute span in the second half unless we're up by 24 points. It's not going to happen because we're way better when he's out there. I mean, I don't know what your eyes tell you, but when Denver Jones is on the court, we are way, way better as a basketball team. And so he was out for that stretch that we let him back in the basketball game in the second half. Now he came back in and we took it back up, and then he came back out and we dribbled the air out of the ball again. And that was the thought I had on Tahad on Saturday is, you know, I coach a lot of basketball, and I try to coach young kids to not dribble the air out of it. Mm-hmm. And I use that statement to them so they'll have to repeat it back to me whenever I say, what did you do wrong there? Well, I dribbled the air out of it, coach. I said, well, no kidding. I mean, don't dribble all over the court trying to be an AAU showcase athlete when you can move the basketball, which moves a lot quicker than you can run up and down the court dribbling it yourself. And Tahad did look like he regressed back to that. But the beauty of basketball, I was watching Jermaine O'Neal was having, he has a developmental academy. And so I've watched him speak a few times before, and I really like Jermaine O'Neal. I like the way that he coaches kids up. And he said this, and I'll throw it at you. He said, I've got a 5th grade kid that's special. He plays up with 6th and 7th graders. They'll send 2 or 3 guys at him just to slow him down. And so I asked him one day, I said, your older brother's watching, or he's taping your games, isn't he? Do you ever watch the poor moments when you play? Or is it all the highlight reel stuffs that he edits together? He said, why would I want to watch the bad parts? He said, all I want to watch is when I do well. He said, well, that's not when you learn. When you learn is when you're playing poorly, when you're doing things that the coach doesn't deem perfect for the rest of the squad. And I'm going with Tahad Pettiford. We got a great learning moment. I mean, he did dribble the air out of the ball a lot.
In the middle of an SEC game.
And he's got to learn that keeping the ball moving is going to find its way back to him. I mean, the shots that he made weren't jacked up shots.
No.
They were him moving around and someone else dishing to him, and he had an open shot and he knocked it down.
Right.
So he did. You know how much I love Todd Pettifor. I think he's one of the best
He's
point guards.
probably
that
the best one we've had.
I think he's got more of an NBA look than just about anybody that we've had at that position, and we've had some great ones over the years. But it's a learning deal. You know, sometimes it's not always important to see how great you play. You got to have moments where, look, we don't want to do this. Ja'Kai Howard, we don't want to go stand over in the corner and mope. We need to move. We don't need to look like we're upset when we're not the one the ball's moving through. And I thought his emotional state in the game was a lot better Saturday.
A
Did you notice that, Brett?
lot better. Hey, look, I was going to say, you know, I was critical a few days ago in the Monmouth game. He was engaged Saturday,
Agreed.
Smiling after it. You know, look, we sometimes get caught up and we overanalyze. All of us are guilty of analyzing the heck out of everything, and kids too. Look, me and you have ebbs and flows every day. We have good times and bad times, and good parts of the week and bad parts of the week. So do kids. Everything ain't just smiles and everything's just great all the time. I mean, and so they have to figure out how to manage that kind of stuff too. And also, while they have a spotlight on them with all of us out there watching what they do. And look, again, all you can do is say, I screwed up. I'm going to learn from that and not do that again. Now, if it becomes a habit, then that's a problem. But you're right. I mean, ain't nobody on here bashing Todd Pettifor. We're just bringing up the fact that he got a chance to learn in a game, like Glenn said, being up 20 points and getting bench out there to play is a positive, because you don't get a chance to do that in SEC play. I don't care if it is at home. You know, most of the time you're having to play right down to the wire, and you're having to give your starters, 30 plus minutes, to win these games. And you look down and nobody even got, outside of Chaney Johnson, really, 30 minutes in this game. I mean, Janai Broome only played 28. Chad Baker-Mazara played 24. Dylan Cardwell only played 15 minutes. And I know type of opponent dictates whether you're going to have more big man time in there or not. Miles Kelly did have 32 minutes, but those were the only two players. Kelly and Johnson had 30-plus minutes. Everybody else had 28, 24, 11, 19, and then a smattering of, 4 and 5 minutes spread out through the rest of the team. But most everybody got in the game. I mean, if you want to look down through here and see, a lot of guys got in the basketball game, which is great, and you still won easily. And now you don't have time to really celebrate wins and mope over losses in this league. You got to turn the page, and Auburn's got to go on the road to Texas, who got beat pretty handily by a good Texas A&M team. I don't think anybody is surprised by that. But, again, everybody's got to defend home court. So they'll be at home. They had to go on the road to take on Texas A&M, so they'll be home for their first game. And this will be an opportunity to see how Auburn handles their first road. I think you said it the other day. Our first 4 or 5 games set up pretty well for us to get to that Tennessee game. I think Tennessee, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit, I think Tennessee has Florida coming up immediately, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. I mean, they've got a little bit tougher road in the first 5 than we do. But nevertheless, I mean, we're looking ahead to that potential 1-2 matchup. That's why I'm saying that. But this is not a daunting opening to the SEC schedule for all.
No, it's not. It's winnable games on the road, and games that will be, which all the games we may be favored in throughout the season.
We are right now.
All right now, and we'll see how the betting odds work out on some of those as these home games get set up for some of these opposition teams. But Brett, you watched on Saturday, the home teams that were good ran away from the opponents they had in, and we have bragged on the SEC on how tough the SEC is, but Alabama just obliterated their opponent. You watched and you saw the way Tennessee played. My gosh, they're good, Brett. They are physical.
Yeah, they're very good.
When they shoot the ball the way that they did from the perimeter on Saturday, they're as good as we are. And that's a mouthful. Yeah. That is it's the best basketball team we've ever had. It
they're number one for a reason.
It may be the best one and Coach Cal said that. He said, we lost by 25, and I don't know how it wasn't 50. That's how good that Tennessee
Right.
team is. That's a pretty good Arkansas team that they matched up with.
Right.
But you've got to be really good to go on the road and consistently win. And you can't get your feelings too hurt if you end up on the road and don't play as well as you could have and lose a game like we did at Duke. Because I think it's going to take an effort like that from an SEC squad to beat Auburn, and it's probably going to take it being on the road. But there's 3 or 4 teams out there in the SEC that, and Alabama being one of them, that if you don't play up to a standard, you could lose. And all 3 of us are in the top 5.
Well, you
And
better
we all held suit on Saturday with home games too.
better add Kentucky to the list because in Florida.
Florida too, yes.
Well, Florida to go up there and only lose by 2 possessions in a 106 to 100 game.
Another one. I know that it was a home game. Mississippi State is really good.
No, Mississippi State's good too. I mean,
yeah.
Look, we've just rattled off half the conference as being really good. Seriously, we've just rattled off 8 teams,
all potential Sweet 16 teams.
Every one of them. I mean, Lenardi's got 12 teams in the tournament right now, and I think the record for a conference is 11.
That's right.
I mean, crap. I hate to say it, but Texas may be one of the weaker teams in the league. And so was Oklahoma. And Oklahoma was undefeated now. Went back and looked. I mean, and there is something to be said about schedules. You know, we all raved about the SEC, nobody having less than 10 wins coming into conference play. Well, it's like Glenn said, the SEC separated itself on Saturday in opening play with some of these that may have been a few pretenders. Georgia may have been a little bit of a pretender. Texas, Oklahoma, that 13-0 is, again, all records aren't created equal. If they'd have played a tougher schedule, there's no way they would have been 13-0. But, hey, we're splitting hairs. It is what it is. All you can do is take care of business. And, again, that just tells you that 1 out of every 2 times you go on the floor, you're playing a team that's as good or it may be better than you. And the other half, if you have an off night, they can beat you. So that's where this league is. You have to turn the page fast. Auburn has to turn the page fast. They got to play Tuesday night. A lot of times it's Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, but a smattering of these games are getting split up to Tuesdays. So Auburn has Texas at 8 o'clock on Tuesday on ESPN2. Tennessee, listen to this. Number 1 Tennessee will go to number 6 Florida. So Florida had to open up with Kentucky, and now they welcome in the number 1 team. And I wouldn't be surprised if Florida beat them at home. I wouldn't. I mean, nobody is going to be surprised
down there. I mean, it'd be the same as a great Auburn team going to Florida. 50-50? I mean, even when you got a great team, if you're going to somewhere that's as talented as that Florida team, they were undefeated before that loss too. I mean, it's a really good team. One little takeaway that I saw in the Alabama and Oklahoma game, I love our high school kids here in the state of Alabama, is Duke Miles, the point guard there for Oklahoma. Brett and I had the good fortune of calling him in the Final 48 many times, as he was the general for that Lee team. And that was a Lee team that
he's good.
Plays exactly the way that you've seen Mountain Brook and Coleman and these other programs play. Man, Robert E. Lee took it to another level. I know that they've changed their name over. I get confused on which ones are which. I should get all of that.
Percy Julian.
All right, so Percy Julian, he played for Lee, and he was a dog, and he defended you full court. He was very physical, and I think Auburn came down to him and J.P. Pegues on which one they wanted to get out of the portal, correct?
They did. That's exactly right.
So thank the Lord to Todd Pettiford has worked out. Yeah, because we didn't get the better version of that point guard in the portal for sure. Because Duke Miles really playing well for Oklahoma.
Yeah, he is. We knew he was a good player, but we thought J.P. Pegues was too. And maybe he figures it out, man. But he didn't even play Saturday, and so that tells you, that tells you kind of where that situation is. All right, what does Auburn need to do in conference to be in the hunt? You got to win at least 13 games.
At least 13. Yeah, you get to 15, you win it.
Yeah, for sure. I think most everybody feels really, really good about 13, getting you in the hunt. And that's serious. I mean, that doesn't guarantee you winning it.
It usually guarantees you splitting it. 13, well, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, there could be one outlier team like we've seen in the past with a Kentucky or an Auburn. We've been really good, or Tennessee. But we have shared the SEC regular season with a 13-5 record, correct?
Absolutely.
With
That's
Tennessee.
That's usually the number. I mean, 13 is usually the number. And again, we're a long way away from that. So, but you kind of know where your goal is. Hugh, we appreciate it. Like and share this show if you love straight Auburn talk. And that's what this show is. It is. I mean, that's what we're going to be real. And we appreciate it, Hugh. We appreciate all of you out there. It's a good time to talk about some of our partners here on the program, and we couldn't do it without them. And Sensa Green, for air that's cool and clean, call them Sensa Green. They're your carrier dealers here in the state. We want to thank Wade Bennett, who's part of our program as well, for helping us with that partnership. So if you need a carrier dealer, they are the ones. Sensa Green. If you need a new heating and air unit, boy, it's about to be really, really cold. It's already cold, but it's about to be really cold over the next few weeks. So make sure you get you a new unit. If you need one or if you need it repaired, call them Sensa Green. They'll help you out there. All right, back to what we were talking about. Winning the SEC tournament will probably be harder than making the Final Four. Again, you saw Auburn win the SEC tournament last year, and I'm glad we did because we needed that team was really good, and we got to hang a banner, and then we laid an egg in the first round against Yale. I mean, if I have one thing I want to see improved on this year is the last 3 years we've either gone out in the round of 32 or the first round. That's not pretty. You don't want that to start being a trend. We've had great seasons, and last year was no exception. But you don't you don't want that to start becoming a mental hurdle for your program. When you're a 5 seed or 4 seed or 3 seed and you're ranked high and you go to the first round and you worry about trying to move on. I mean, we all know this is a Sweet 16 caliber team. And so Auburn needs to get over that mental hump. And I know we're months away from that, but it's worth talking about because this is a good basketball team. It's one of the top 2 teams in the country right now, if not the best team. And I feel like we'll play like that through the SEC play. But then getting to that tournament and postseason is what matters. And, we've had early exits the last 3 years.
Well, here's what I like about this team in comparison to others is we can win shooting poorly from the perimeter. We'll keep saying it. Sometimes it's not your night. And when it's not your night, you don't need Wendell Green jacking up 5 more threes from 4 feet behind the three-point arc. And that's what we did to lose that game. And you've got to be physical enough to have a system that gets the ball down in the post and allow the best player possibly in the country in Janai Broome to go win it and not have to win it shooting from the perimeter. Now, I love it as much as anybody to see Auburn hit 7 or 8 threes from the perimeter in the first half like we did the other day. If that's the case, then we're 2019 good. And you can go on runs and you can win basketball games. But I think it's more important when you get into these tournament games, when you get tight, that you can get tight shooting the basketball close to the rim.
Right.
And this team can. This team has proven that it can win different ways. And it has added a dimension with our post play, being able to move out to the perimeter and shoot the ball as well as we have when we extend the defense with Janai and Chaney Johnson. So I like our chances. I love what this team's doing to get set for the tournament. But Saturday games and film study off of the way that Todd played is perfect. You want that to happen in the first part of the SEC play rather than when you get into tournament play and you don't have that to go back to because everything's been so good up to that point.
Yeah, no doubt. So, again, just pulling out things that this is what, Bruce Pearl and that staff are doing. I know you'll turn your focus to Texas, who's 11-3. Again, you're sitting there going, well, they may be the bottom part. They're 11-3. I mean, it's hard to point a finger and they went on the road and had to play a really tough Texas A&M team, which, by the way, Buzz is one of the best coaches in this league.
Yes, he is.
And we all talk about that. Come the day of Bruce Pearl exiting, whenever that be in like 40 years from now, okay, Buzz would be a guy that I'd have no problem with. And I think he brings a very similar personality to Bruce Pearl. I think he does a good job of getting the crowd involved, and he's not the marketer Bruce Pearl is. But if I had to kind of compare, it would be if I looked up and down the SEC of who I wanted. That would be one. Justin said, "Give me Steven." And look, I'm not getting into who's replacing Bruce Pearl on here this morning. I'm just saying I like Buzz. I think he does a great job. I've heard a lot of other Auburn people tell me the same thing, that they really like the way, and his teams are gritty, man. They get after you. They always are in the hunt. And look, Steven Pearl may take the reins from his dad at whatever time that is. Steven may go get another job, and then come back. Who knows? I hate to even bring it up because now somebody's going to say, well, Brett was on there talking about, Buzz coming over here and take it. Look, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think he's a great coach, and they're a tough place to go play. They've got great players. And Texas went over there, and they lost. And so now they get to go home and bring us in, and we're going to have to go play good against them.
Well, they better play physical because defense travels. And beauty of this Auburn team under Bruce Pearl is we will take this defense and we will pressure you beyond belief. And we saw that on Saturday. That was a Missouri squad that had scored the basketball in each game that they'd had so far this year. They're a great offensive team. They weren't great against us, had 33 points in the first half. I think they averaged 84 points a game coming in.
Yeah, that was one of their lowest point, maybe the lowest of the year for them.
So that's what Buzz does. That's what Sampson does there at Houston. They defend you, man. They make playing them disgust the opponent.
There ain't no doubt.
And so we got that here with Bruce Pearl. I love it. I think that we'll go over to Texas and we'll have a lot of energy. I can see this team excited about going on the road in the SEC. I really can. I don't think we'll play flat, not with this squad. This is an older squad that, a lot of those guys, like you mentioned with Dylan Cardwell, didn't have to play a lot of minutes. This game he may. And maybe that's, the talk that the coaches have had. So I am a little surprised that Dylan didn't play for 15 minutes over.
I was definitely shocked. He only attempted one shot. That's where I was going next, to kind of look down and see where everybody was point wise. Of course, Janai Broome just sleepwalks to 24 points. I mean, that's when you're really good at something, when there's nothing flashy about it, and you look down and you had 24 points and 7 rebounds, and you played 28 minutes and you're 9 of 13. I mean, it's just, it kind of sends a message that, man, if he needed to shoot the ball 20 times, they can get it to him. And that's how dominant he was inside. So, again, maybe the surprise was Dylan Cardwell not getting more minutes, but it made room for Chaney Johnson to get 31 minutes. Chaney Johnson, 13 points on 5 of 7 shooting. Again, not like that guy came out there and jacked up a bunch of shots and ended up with 13 points. He was 5 of 7. I mean, you could get him to shoot the basketball more. Denver Jones only attempted 7 shots, but, man, he is special in there distributing the basketball, and he's really increased his stock from last year to this year. Miles Kelly only shot the ball 6 times. I mean, these are guards, man. Only shooting the ball 6-7 times a game, or in this game. And then you get, Ja'Kai Howard in there for 11 minutes. You can't – it's a 40-minute game. You only have 5 on the floor. And this is a deep team. And Bruce, in situations where he feels like he can steal some minutes in an SEC game and get some of these guys some extra play, that's what he's doing. Again, you can run these numbers up. You and I said it. Heck, if Janai Broome played more minutes, he's already the National Player of the Year leader right now. And to me, it's not even close. But his stats could be even better than what they are because he's not playing the minutes of maybe some of these guys in the country that are going to be up for that award too in comparison. So I think this is a great opportunity when Bruce knows he's got a deep bench and he knows depth is what wins in these tournaments. So you said it 100 times. You never know which guy's going to be the one on any given night to step up and make the play. And so you don't have to rely on your starting five. Maybe somebody off the bench that scores 17 points. We've seen Chaney Johnson kind of work out of that role to be a starter. And then he'll sometimes go back to the bench and come off the bench. You just got a lot of options with this team. And I think Bruce Pearl does a great job of he knew he was at home. He knew he had Missouri where they wanted it. And they had a safe enough lead to go ahead and get some of these guys in. And if he needed to run some guys back out there, if the game started getting a little bit tight, he could do that. So I like it.
Well, I think we know the 5 or the top 6. If we get in a tight basketball game and we need to really go to a 6-player game, 8 minutes and less when we're really tight in a basketball game, we all know who those guys are. Chaney's one of them. Now, Chaney may be the 6th, but the rest are all seniors. Yeah, now we may get a couple of them back with this new Diego Pavia ruling, but and we've already seen it a few times this year where when we're closing basketball games out, Denver's in the ball game, CBM's in the ball game, Miles Kelly's in the ball game, and Dylan and Janai are in the ball game. And then if you want to pull Chaney in for Miles or CBM or whoever he needs to come in with, and the point is we haven't had many moments like that. We really haven't.
No.
And we will. And when we do, that squad hasn't had anybody really push them outside of Duke. Am I right? When we've
Iowa State.
When we've had that 5 or 6 in the basketball game at the same time, I mean,
I'm gonna stick
we ran away from teams.
No, you're right. For the most part, outside of that Duke game and that Iowa State game where we got down 17 and came back and won that game, I think
came back with that rotation.
We came back with that rotation, but I'm gonna tell you, if you watched Iowa State is if we're 2, they're 2B, and that they're just. I told my son Saturday, I said, I caught a glimpse of Iowa State's game. I said that will still. And I said this weeks ago.
You did
right after the Maui. I said that'll be the best win on our schedule. Even including if we beat Tennessee, or we were to go to Coleman Coliseum and beat Alabama.
And the way we played offensively against Houston.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
They make teams look terrible offensively. They are so good defensively, Brett.
So I'm not diminishing any of that. I just, man, I like that Iowa State team. They're built very similar to us, and they're going to be a team that you look back on and go, "Ooh, man, that was a big." That's why we won the Maui Invitational. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Memphis; they're a good team too, but that was really the championship game there when we played them, and they had us down. For us to rally back and win that game kind of sent the message of who we were and who we are as a basketball team. So, all right, Texas at 8:00 on Saturday. Tomorrow on Tuesday. So make sure you tune that in on ESPN2.
We'll break down that matchup tomorrow, Brett. We'll kind of look at some of the key guys to watch on Texas and look a little bit more in depth and who we will expect to maybe play some more minutes than we saw on Saturday, because the matchups will dictate who gets the minutes for Auburn. And Auburn is 9 or 10 deep. And Dylan's minutes may not be as necessary against some teams like they will in others. So we'll take a look at Texas and break that down in the morning. And
then you got 2 home games, South Carolina and Mississippi State back-to-back. And then, and those both will be at home. So you go on the road and you're back home for 2 more. And, again, Mississippi State's very good. South Carolina didn't look great. So you feel good about that game coming back to Neville Arena at noon on Saturday. But then you got a great Mississippi State team coming in. And, Randy, we played them in the tournament last year. And we know we've had struggles with Mississippi State the last couple of years, and rightfully so. They have a good coach, and they play scrappy basketball, and they got a guy in Hubbard, man.
Yeah, he can go get him.
That daggum guy plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he's as good as any guard in this league. And so that'll be a tough test at home. That'll be a tough home test. And I think without screwing the quote up, Bruce said we're good enough to lose every home game, but we're good enough to win every road game. He said, "Did you hear what I said?" He said, that's the kind of league we're in. And so that's it's basically saying you better be ready every time you go play. It doesn't matter if you're home or the road. If you have a little bit of an off night at home and one of these teams comes in on a heater, they'll beat you. And Auburn hasn't lost very much in the last 5 years in that building. But he's just sending a message that don't get into sleepwalk mode. Finish these teams off when you have a chance to finish them. And, cherish every win because they're all gold. All right.
Let me jump in real quick with a thought there. One thing I really like about this team matching up with really good guard play is defensively, our guards are physical. They don't give you a lot. The open shots that we get are shots where the ball's being moved. It's not a point guard up top beating us off the dribble. Now, we've given up way too many open threes in the games that have been close.
We have.
But those are offense-generated half-court sets that are giving up those threes, Brett. That's miscommunication, and those are things we can fix. But things you can't fix is when you've got a guard, like a smaller guard, matched up with a very physical guard that is taking you into the post or moving you back out to the perimeter and making plays in one-on-one matchups. And I love our matchups there. My gosh, from Denver Jones, and then when you rotate, Miles Kelly jumps on you.
Right.
And Tahad Pettiford is going to defend you from one end of the court to the other. I was mentioning that to my son. I want you to watch his footwork. Watch Tahad Pettiford and the way he keeps his body between the dribble and the goal. He really squares himself up. If you're going to go through him, it's a charge. He's been taught so well defensively, and we're better. We're way better. We've been good for a long time defensively, but we're better than I think we've ever been in on-ball defense out there with Denver and Tahad and Miles Kelly and that bunch.
I agree with you. And again, when you're not having a good shooting night, your defense is always going to be there. It's going to keep you in games. He said if Alabama gets their chemistry together, they will be a dominating board team every night. Scary potential. Have no doubt Nate Oates will have them ready by tournament time. I caught a little bit of Nate Oates' press conference, and he said that exactly. He said, look, he said the thing that we still got to get better with is our chem. He said that exact thing. He said we still have guys that aren't playing up to where they should be playing potential-wise, and when we have certain combinations on the floor, we're not getting out of it what we need. So they're not anywhere near peak either.
No, I watched a lot of that game Saturday, Brett. They are very athletic and long in the post.
I'll tell you the difference maker for me is LeBaron Philon.
Oh, I love him.
He's the guy that really at the beginning of the year was all about defense. Now he's scoring, and we knew he was a scorer. We watched him in high school. Yeah, that's one that they can have Aiden Holloway. I wanted LeBaron Philon. That's one that, I'm going to openly say I hate that we didn't get him. Now, he went to Kansas too, and then he comes back and goes to Alabama. But I'm not on here to talk about Alabama. I'm here to talk about Auburn. But they are a good basketball team. Travis says we're strong at every level. I agree. Again, there's not a weakness on this team I see. And
that's important.
No, it is. There's not a weak spot.
When you're missing perimeter shots, can you go in a different way?
And they can.
Do you have a system set up to be able to get the shots that you're looking for when things get a little tight? And Bruce Pearl does, man. I mean, his inbound play calling Everything that goes on in our half court sets it's a thing of beauty.
Alabama's wins and losses depend on offensive boards, no doubt. And for a lot of teams, that's going to be the case. Can you get second, third, and fourth opportunities on the offensive side of the basket? And Auburn does that. They get multiple shots at it. And I watched Kentucky do that. I watched Kentucky against Florida really was the difference because Clayton got hot and some of those guys from Florida got hot, but Kentucky got 2, 3, 4, and sometimes 5 shots at the basket. And you're not going to beat anybody. You give somebody as good as Kentucky or Auburn or Alabama multiple shots on the offensive side. You got to win the boards. And so, but Alabama, but Justin's right. If they don't win the offensive glass, that's an Achilles heel for them for sure. He said, Brett, you're right. I forgot how close Iowa State. Well, Iowa State to me is an argument with us and Tennessee is the best team in college basketball. I mean, if they had beaten us, they would be number 2 in the country, and we'd probably be number 3. And so that's really the difference. That's the only thing separating us from them. And the only reason Tennessee's number 1 and maybe not us or Iowa State's because they ain't lost yet. So, again, if you ain't lost and you do what you're doing and you're already at number 1, they're going to keep voting you there. So, they have a hard game against Florida tomorrow night where they got to go on the road.
Game, they deserve to be number 1.
I totally agree because Florida can score and you know that place is going to be raucous, and they know Tennessee's number 1. They're going to come in there. If I had to, let me see what ESPN has that predictor at.
It's got to be 50-50 at best.
Let me see what I'm going to say. It's in favor of Florida.
I would too.
I'm going to say
I don't think Auburn at the end of the day is going to be favored in all of our games on the road. I don't believe it.
No, I was wrong. Tennessee a 54% chance to win that game versus 45. So they do have a look, like you said, if Tennessee wins that game, though, down in Florida, they deserve to be etched. But if Auburn does what they're supposed to do on the road and Florida were to beat them, now, again, this is a Florida team that went to Kentucky. It's a very good Kentucky team now, by the way, and lost
top 10 Kentucky team.
106 to 100. Okay, it's 2 possessions. And if that game had been played in Florida, Florida probably would have beaten Kentucky. That was just a matchup of where you were. And I don't think Tennessee is any better than either of those teams. And now they've got to go on the road. So I'm going to favor the whole home team in Florida. Justin said, is Cal going to get it done at Arkansas? It's too early to tell. But I can tell you this. Kentucky looks like a rejuvenated team with Pope at the helm versus what Calipari had become stale bread, in my opinion. And he's a great coach, but I think Kentucky fans had enough of him, and I think he had enough of Kentucky fans. I think it was a absolute mutual parting of the ways so both could go out and be re-energized. I think he'll have Arkansas playing good basketball.
I don't think Cal is the best X's and O's coach in our league. I don't see a system that worries me. You know, I think Cal is an amazing recruiter. And before the NIL, he was the best at going out and putting the top squad together when it went to, pretty much an all freshman squad when they had that one and done, changed in with college basketball. Do you feel that way, Brett? When I watch them play, even back to his Kentucky days, I didn't think he was going to outcoach us. No,
I didn't. I just think, like you said, he had the best players
in this league. There's some other coaches in this league. I go, man, Buzz, Nate
Barnes,
there's some coaches out there, and those 3 being.
Hey, I like Mississippi State's coach.
Agree,
man.
Yeah, but I don't know exactly what Cal wants to do when I watch them play. Do you?
Let me tell you what Cal does, and I don't know. He's always been this way, and they were getting it handed to him pretty good there late in the first half. He wasn't coaching. He was too busy yelling at the official why they didn't call a foul down there on a 3-point shot, and then they called one underneath on them. And I think for 5 minutes he yelled at the official while Tennessee built the lead. So I think he's just gotten to a point where he thinks he can walk out there and be John Calipari, and I don't think the officials care anymore. I really don't. And again, with the transfer portal, everybody's getting to do what he's been able to do forever. And so he's been relegated to the rest of the pack. I mean, let's be honest. Didn't nobody talk about Arkansas? I mean, Arkansas with Musselman leaving, and I thought he did a pretty good job at Arkansas. But everybody, I don't recall John Calipari going to Arkansas and everybody going, "Oh God, boy,
I don't think that anymore.
I don't
think he's a better coach than Bruce Pearl. I don't. I wouldn't trade him if I was Alabama with Nate Oates. I wouldn't. There's no way in the world I wouldn't. So I think at least 4 or 5 of our programs in the SEC think we got a better coach than they've got.
Man, I agree with that.
I don't think you and I are the only outliers saying that.
No. All right. Time for another one of our great partners, Bunkers in Auburn. You and I were over there last week for a lunch meeting. The food is unbelievable, by the way. Down on West Glen.
I felt sorry for y'all. You know, I'm on a diet, so I had to sit there and watch y'all scarf that down. And it was enough food for 2 humans on a
Well, nobody finished their meal. I mean, there was food left on everybody's plate. But anyway, Bunkers in Auburn, if you haven't tried them out, man, they're awesome.
And their takeaway was the same as ours, Brett. Man, look at this place. How nice is this place? And I think that it's right there off West Glen, by the way. Got a couple of different units. And if you want to park, you've got
50.
The deck parking that keeps you from having to
50 places.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about fighting for something out on the road. It's a very nice venue. And so every time I go in there, I'm thinking the same thing, man. This place is nice. I want to come back here more.
Take your friends, your family, rent a booth with the simulator. And I think they have 6 or 7 of them. Man, they've got them on the lower end and the upper end, and you got a seating area in the middle where you can eat and hang out at the bar. Really big tables, man. Some unique tables where you can sit probably 10 people, around a curved table. And then on the other side, just don't take our word for it. Go check out Bunkers on West Glen and Auburn. Glad to be partnered up with them. And, in the works for a post-game show after football games this coming up season. And, boy, I hope we're in there after a lot of wins. And we're in Bunkers and we're set up in there and we're talking about a bunch of Auburn wins rather than what the heck's going on. So speaking of that, we'll slide over and talk some Auburn football. And Auburn got some more good news in the portal. They go out and get Chris Murray, another defensive lineman from Sam Houston State. He was at TCU before that. And again, we knew looking at this portal class that whichever service you're looking at, it's a top 5 portal class. Auburn had 14 or 15 additions now to this class. And defensive line was an area that Auburn wanted to add a couple more guys. Well, they just got Chris Murray. He was first team All-Conference USA, 11.5 tackles for loss and 5.5 sacks this year. Again, needed some depth there. Looking at Jeffrey Mba, it looks like, he was the number 1 JUCO player in the country coming out. When he got to Auburn, Brian I almost called him Harskins because everybody's mess. I'll keep it at that. Brian Harskins said, he came down here and flopped like a lot of players and left. And now he looks like he's going to return after playing from Purdue. And, man, he looks the part. And maybe it's his time to shine. If maybe we'll hear an official word on that today from Jeffrey Mba. But that would be 2 more defensive linemen that you would add to this class that'll be ready to go in the spring.
0 negative I can say about the team that's being put together by Hugh Freeze and this staff, recruiting exceptionally well in the high school front, especially here in the state of Alabama. And have really ramped up their efforts in the transfer portal. I think they feel the same way that a lot of people do, that if you're not playing that transfer portal game, you're getting run by maybe even some teams that aren't doing as good a job recruiting high school players. So we're doing a great job on both. I'd like to see any program or how many programs out there finished as high as we did in high school recruiting and as high as we currently. Maybe pull that up for us tomorrow, Brett, just to see where we match up with some of the top programs in the country. We're right there with them. I wouldn't trade this recruiting class in high school with anybody out there. Being from the state of Alabama and the hopes of shoring up this state and getting the best talent here, and we definitely did that. And I think we'll keep doing that. But we got to win football games. So tip your hat to them, Brett, though. They're doing a tremendous job of putting this. They don't have excuses anymore.
No,
we're not the only program saying that. There are no excuses. And the reason there are no excuses is, let's tip our hat again. Let's keep saying it. Hugh Freeze and this staff, there is no negative comments coming out from me, you, or anybody else that's a talking head for Auburn when it comes to the effort he's giving us, putting a good team together, talent-wise.
DJ Durkin, don't sleep on that guy, man. That guy is he's put together a great defense, and he's a part of this, a big part of why these guys are looking at Auburn and deciding to come to Auburn on the defensive side of the football, whether it be out of high school or the portal. Another guy to watch, he was on a visit, was Jeremiah Alexander. He's currently at Alabama. It's in the transfer portal. You and I remember him on that Thompson team. It's a 5-star recruit coming out of high school in 22, and he's 6'2", 250 pounds. There's some comments from him this past weekend. He said, man, it's a beautiful campus, getting to make relationships with Coach Durkin and the guys on staff. This has been a nice and smooth transition coming here and exploring the campus, meeting with academics, talking with the wait staff, meeting with nutrition. It's a beautiful campus. Just kind of went through and had a lot of great things to say. I know he's looking at Ole Miss as well and some couple other teams. So I think this is a priority for Auburn to add him, with all the Thompson guys Auburn has on this team right now. I think that has, a pretty big deal. That's a big deal. Kind of going back and revisiting him as a high school player, Randy. He was the number 18 player in the country, number 1 player in the state of Alabama in the 2022 class. Is that Peter Wood's class too?
I can't remember if they came out the same year, but
they were on the same team at the same time.
They were on the same team for multiple years,
right?
And were key contributors for those teams. Jeremiah Alexander was a grown man.
He
at
was
14 years old. He was starting for Thompson, 6'2", 215 pound outside linebacker, jack edge, whatever you want to call those players, when he was in the 9th grade. And you don't do that. You don't do that at those programs without being a premier athlete. And so he's been one Brett and I've been talking and calling ball games and broadcasting for quite a long time. I don't know why it didn't work out for him at Alabama. I mean, nobody does. I mean, you don't. It's always a head scratcher on why some produce and others don't. So from a talent standpoint, he's just like you talk about with Jackson Arnold. You want to go back to high school rankings, you're not going to find anybody higher ranked really than Jeremiah Alexander. So can you develop him and get him to his ceiling? That's probably what he's looking for.
Well,
and he's gotten jacked up, man. He was more of a 220, 225
250,
pound guy.
250 now. Caleb Harris, Anquan Fagans hosted him this weekend. Shocker, right? So, again,
Jared Smith is also from Thompson that picked up. I mean, they would be playing not necessarily the same position. They're a different size player. Jeremiah Alexander is a little. He kind of looks like the Hightower type linebackers that Alabama had during the stretch where he had a lot of downhill running.
Right.
Big, physical, but not overly tall. Jared Smith's more of a power forward at defensive end. So I'm just trying to give everybody a glimpse of what Jeremiah Alexander is. He's he's more of that 6'2", could weigh 240 to 250 pounds and could move over and play as a middle linebacker. And I think we saw him play a lot of that at Thompson, just moving around on the field, Brett. And so I don't know where he matches, where he fits in, but I'll take him from a talent standpoint. It'll keep another kid from
Heck yeah.
the state of Alabama and get them over to Auburn.
Well, who knows? He gets here with DJ Durkin and
Yeah.
And this defensive staff, man, he may blossom into what everybody thought he was going to be at Alabama. He plans to visit Clemson on Tuesday. Also looking at a visit for Oklahoma and Ole Miss.
And Peter Woods up at Clemson.
Yeah.
So you already mentioned that. So that would
Right.
be the X factor there. Peter Woods is playing well at Clemson.
Maybe he goes up there and gets Peter Woods to come to Auburn. Hey, a couple of things here from some of our viewers. Justin said, don't understand promoting special teams coach. Besides Hugh, did his group not perform the work? I question that. I thought our special teams, now I know with McPherson being out this year, it changed a lot for the special teams. I mean, we struggled mightily in that phase. Now, Oscar Chapman, he kind of dwindled as well. I thought that his performance was poor enough to cost us the Texas A&M game, and probably should have. But I thought our defense played well enough to maintain the bad field position. Hugh had the same comment here. He said, have the same question. The coverage wasn't the best. Just overall, the special teams, not what we're used to, Randy, at Auburn. So they promote him. We'll see. Again, I'm not gonna go down that road. Do I like the move from a surface standpoint? No, but is that the easy fix? Did they feel like that was the best move on the staff? So be it. They're the ones having to make that decision. I know special teams got to get a lot better next year. That needs to be something that is focused on, and whether it's Towns Magoo or whoever it is that's gonna do the kicking next year for Auburn, that needs to get back to what we've all been used to for 20-something years, is having a steady Eddie, solid kicking game, and we'll see if it gets back to that. But we got to have it if we want to be competitive.
It's the worst special teams grouping that I've seen. I can't remember the last bad one that Auburn had up to that standard. So I'm with you. I don't. You've got to put trust in Hugh Freeze and this staff to put the right people in place, and he can't be blind enough to see how bad we were on that side last year. So hopefully it'll get fixed. It's been the way we've won a lot of football games over the years when we've been even Steven with other teams, Brett. We've had better special teams, and it's shown up, and it's won us a lot of football games all the way back to Pat Dye. Probably before then, but I've been watching every single Auburn game and can remember practically all of them since Pat Dye shows up. And he made special teams a priority at Auburn. He knew how big it was, and we won a lot of games with the kicking in the kicking game. And we better get it back there because I think we need it.
Yeah,
if we get it, we can close the gap on some of these things.
I just had a text from somebody asking me, where is he moving to? He's moving to the Nichols coaching position. He's coaching those nickel backs. So he moves from special teams coach to the nickel position. So again, we'll see. I mean, maybe he gets over there and shines, and then they get a guy to come in and handle special teams, and that improves. Maybe that's one of the things that they like him as a coach and a player. I mean, and a person in the program, that they don't want to get rid of him. Yep. They want to find a spot for him. Let's spin it in a positive way. They find a spot for him, and then they go out and they go find a guy that really concentrates on special teams, and because they know they've got to get better there. And look, so tip your hat there. Maybe it's more of we know we got to get better in this position. We like Tanner Burns as a person and as a coach. We're gonna give him a shot over here. We feel like he can help us there, and we'll go get us a special teams coach to improve that area. That's one way to look at it.
Been a great show this morning, Brett. I did want to throw out there real quick before we go off there. Yep. Congratulations to Bo Nix, man.
Good.
What an amazing first season for the Denver Broncos, getting them back in the playoffs after a long hiatus. I think he'll be rookie of the year. Right around 4,000 yards passing, 34 touchdowns, also rushed for 700 plus
I don't
yards.
think you want to play Denver right now going
No,
into the playoff.
he is better than I even expected. Thinking back to him at Pinson Valley and how long we've been covering Bo Nix, tremendous season, and what a great family. I hate that it's not all of us Auburn fans sitting on here, and my wife not keeping up with it a lot. Asked me, I said, "What in the world? What happened to him at Auburn?" I said, "How much time you got? I mean, do you want me to?" He had to leave Auburn to get to his ceiling, unfortunately, with how poor our leadership was at the time and how poor our coaching
The good
was.
thing about him is I think he still considers himself an Auburn person too. Again,
Yeah,
he went to Oregon and did great, and I think we're all proud for him to do that. He graduated from Auburn. He got his degree from Auburn. He stayed the course, and he left a poor situation. He didn't want to leave Auburn. The situation forced him to leave. And look, he went and did what he did, and I'm with you. I'm proud of him, but he's still an Auburn kid, and he played 3 years at Auburn, and I tip my hat to that. So when I'm watching him out there, I mean, it's kind of like Jalen Hurts going to Oklahoma, and I know it's different
yeah, it's a
apples
good
oranges,
point, though.
but
Yeah,
Alabama still claims Jalen Hurts, and they should. Heck, he did nothing but win while he was at quarterback there, and then he went to Oklahoma because of the Tua situation, and he had to do what he had to do. That's the world we live in now. So he's always going to be an Auburn guy too.
Pat Nix as good as we cover, though, isn't he, Brett?
I like Coach Nix. He's done an outstanding job at Phoenix City, and as long as he's there, they're always going to be in it. They're always going to be in the talk and for a state championship. And again, he didn't have anything bad to say. When I talked to him last, he didn't have anything bad to say about Auburn. If anything, he said that's where we want to retire because he wants to wake up and be close to campus and where he and his wife and family can walk around on campus every day if they wanted to. So that was the quote from his mouth to me. And so there's no ill will there. I mean, they understood the situation. I mean, again, it was one of those deals where, heck, a blind squirrel could have seen that Brian. I don't even know how to pronounce his name anymore. I've called him Harskins so much now. Everybody knew that was a bad situation. And so he graduated from Auburn, and he got an opportunity to go and play at Oregon and almost won a championship and almost won the Heisman. So I was pulling for him to win the Heisman. I was hoping he was going to win.
I think we all were.
So, all right, to wrap up again, I want to thank Sensa Green, I want to thank Bunkers, but also want to thank Lee Apparel and Sign Source for our partnership or their partnership here on the program.
Yeah, we got great news. Hopefully closing on a new building over in Auburn as early as this Friday. I'm about to get off of this show and go and try to shore that up. It's right there on Opelika Road, right up from the mall. It's currently an ABS building right there, right beside Laredo's, if you know where we're talking about, on Opelika Road. So we'll close up with that business, and we'll be able to take you in walk-ins for Sign Source and Lee Apparel in that location. It's as busy a road as I'd ever want to be on. So stop by and see us, but customized apparel, screen printing, DTF machines, promotional products through Lee Apparel, and then Sign Source from start to finish, designing a wrap to designing a digital board or a digital sign for you, to creating that sign and then installing the sign. We can do it from start to finish. 256-825-0197.
All right. Again, I want to thank everybody for watching and listening to us every single day. Justin said, keep that pipeline going, get Trent Seaborn on down here. Hey, look, I love our chances with anybody in Thompson High School right now. What that thing went from a desert, I'm talking about a dry desert of players, now to a flourishing oasis that just flows down Highway 280 all the way down to Auburn from Thompson. And look, I'm with you, Justin. Keep that thing going because Trent Seaborn, man, I don't know. When it comes down to playing in a state championship game, that joker, he figures out a way to get it done, no doubt about it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, we are very close to topping 500. For some of you big YouTube channel guys out there, you may be laughing at us. We just got started, and we're almost at 500. So I'll take it. Hey, milestones. 500 is a milestone, and then we'll be looking at 1,000. Then hopefully we'll blink. We'll be looking at 10,000. But we appreciate all of you out there spreading the word and getting the information out. So if you like our program, one thing we like to do, and I can't get to all of them every day, but I try to include all the comments as much as I can into what we're doing. So we want you to be as part of this as much as us on here, just breaking certain things down that we talk about. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, we're going to give away some hats and some T-shirts. Went to somebody in the first 500 subscribers when we get to that number. So help us get to 500 and become eligible for that. So again, want to thank everybody for that. And then of course our Auburn Blitz programming will be on at noon today. Andy will be out, so I'll be taking his place with Jim. So we'll be talking a lot more about the things that we've talked about this morning, but we'll be able to take phone calls on that show, and it's kind of a different deal. So you kind of get the best of both worlds all the way around. So, but it's been a great show. Again, we'll be with you tomorrow for the Auburn Blitz podcast. So make sure you tune us in at 8 o'clock. Have a great day, everybody.